What is missing?
Is missing 1, 2, 3, 4.
6.
It's not 6.
6.
It's not 6.
6.
It's not 6. No.
1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6.
It's not.
Well, if it isn't 6, then what the heck is it? This might seem like just another dumb question where the answer is obvious, but someone has a more obscure answer in mind so they can feel smart and tell you you're wrong. And while this may technically be a member of that family, I think the supposed real answer is totally reasonable. Just before we get to that, why are questions like this pretty stupid in the first place? Well, when you write out a sequence and ask someone to deduce which number comes next, if there is to be one correct answer, then there must be one clear pattern in the sequence. There may be other patterns, but if the only information given is the sequence, it's reasonable to pick the next number based on the most obvious pattern. Now, of course, people in the video thought the next number was 6 because the most obvious pattern in this sequence is that it is the sequence of digital roots of the positive integers. These are the numbers that come from adding the digits of a number successively until you obtain a one-digit number. So for the number 10, you would add the digits 1 and 0 and get the number 1. But for numbers less than 10, you just end up with the original number itself. Way further out in the sequence, for a number like 97, you would add its 2 digits to get 16, but then you have to add its 2 digits, so you end up with a one-digit number, 7. That's the digital root. But of course, the fella in the video has told us that the answer is not 6, so we're supposed to discard the most obvious pattern. And the problem with that is that if we look past the most obvious pattern, then the answer doesn't have to be 6. We could justify answers of 7 or 8 or 9 or a myriad of other numbers. So just for fun, let me show you how we could get 7, 8, or 9 as the next numbers in this sequence. And then I'll finish by telling you what answer the guy in the video was actually looking for. So what's missing? Well, it could be 7. Let me show you how. You should recall that a prime number is a whole number greater than 1 with exactly 2 factors. Numbers like 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and so on. In contrast, a number like 6 is not prime because it has more than 2 factors. The factors of 6, as you know, are 1, 2, 3, and 6. So it has 4 factors. It's not prime, it is composite. Now, there's a famous theorem called the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, which tells us every positive number greater than 1 has a unique prime factorization. 6, for example, has a unique prime factorization 2 times 3. We could note, using a subscript for example, that 2 is the first prime number, and 3 happens to be the second prime number. Those subscripts are a little squished. Let me show you another example. 8 is composite, and it has a unique prime factorization. 8 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2. And again, 2 happens to be the first prime number, which I could jot down here in the subscript. One more example, the unique prime factorization of 10 is 2 times 5. 2 is the first prime number, and 5 happens to be the third prime number. The jargon we would use here is that the numbers in green are the prime indices. These prime indices tell us where these particular prime factors are in the list of all prime numbers. The prime indices of 8 are 1, 1, and 1, because the first prime number appears in its factorization 3 times. On the other hand, the prime indices of 10 are 1 and 3, because its prime factors are the first and the third prime numbers. Now, what happens if we add the prime indices of 8? Well, of course, we get 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is equal to 3. If we multiply the prime indices of 8, we get 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. Now notice the sum, 3, is divisible by the product, 1. We could say in particular that 3 divided by 1 is a whole number. Of course, it happens to be 3. This is not the case for 10. If we add the prime indices of 10, we get 1 plus 3, which is 4. But if we multiply the prime indices, we get 1 times 3, which is 3. and 4 is not divisible by 3. The sum of the prime indices here is not divisible by the product. Of course, if we tried to do the division, 4 divided by 3, we would get a remainder. The actual result of the division would be 1 and 1/3. Okay, so how do we get this sequence that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7? We just have to consider the sequence of positive integers whose sum of prime indices is divisible by its product of prime indices. It's clear that 2, 3, 5, and 7 would all be in this sequence because they are prime numbers. We could write, for example, 3 is equal to, of course, 3. That is its prime factorization. 3 happens to be the second prime number. Since it's a prime number, it has only one prime index, and so the sum and product of the prime indices is just the single number 2, and 2 is divisible by itself, just like every number is, excluding 0, of course. So we know the sequence has 2, 3, 5, and 7 in it. We just need to justify that it has 1, 4, and not 6. For starters, it certainly has 4 in it. The prime factorization of 4 is 2 times 2. 2 is the first prime number, so the sum of the prime indices here would be 1 plus 1, which is 2, and the product of the prime indices would be 1 times 1, which is 1. And of course, 2 is divisible by 1. So yes, 4 is in this sequence. How do we know that 1 is in the sequence? Well, it kind of comes down to technical definitions. 1 does not have a prime factorization, so its prime factorization would consist of nothing. In other words, it has no prime indices, so the sum of its prime indices would be an empty sum, which is 0. However, its product of prime indices would be an empty product, but an empty product is 1, just like 0 factorial is equal to 1, because 0 factorial we think of as a product of nothing, and an empty product is equal to 1. 0 is divisible by 1, 0 divided by 1 is 0, so 1 does count as a member of this sequence. Technically, the sum of its prime indices is divisible by the product of its prime indices. The last thing we need to check is that the sequence does skip over 6, and that's not difficult to check. The prime factorization of 6, well actually we already looked at it. Up here it's 2 times 3. 2 is the first prime number, 3 is the second prime number. So the sum is 3, the product is 2, 3 is not divisible by 2. So 6 is not a member of the sequence, and if we were looking at it that way, then it would be obvious that the missing number is 7. But could it be that the correct answer isn't 6, and it isn't 7, but is in fact 8? Well, of course it could be 8. And to explain this, we're going to stay on that topic of prime factorizations. Here are the first 11 positive integers. In green, I'm going to write their prime factors. Notice that 1 does not have any prime factors. And now it's easy to get our desired sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. All we need to consider is the sequence of all positive integers n, so that n and n plus 1 have only prime factors less than or equal to 5. So we're looking for pairs of consecutive numbers who collectively have no prime factor greater than 5. What numbers count for this sequence? Well, 1 would certainly be in this sequence because both 1 and 2 have no prime factors greater than 5. Similarly, 2 would be in this sequence because 2 and the next number, 3, have no prime factors greater than 5. Similarly, 3 would be in the sequence, and 4 would be in the sequence, and 5 would be in the sequence, because again, 5 and the next number, 6, have no prime factors greater than 5. But this is going to skip over 6. 6 is not a member of this sequence. Although 6 has no prime factor greater than 5, it needs to be the case that the next number also has no prime factor greater than 5, which is not the case here because the next number is 7, which of course has 7 as a prime factor. Remember, for n to be in the sequence, it needs to be that n n and n plus 1 have this limitation to their prime factors. Of course, 7 can't be in the sequence either because it itself has a prime factor that's greater than 5. So the sequence starts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skips over 6, skips over 7, but then indeed 8 is in the sequence. Because of course, it's the case that 8 and 8 plus 1, which is 9, have no prime factors greater than 5. 9 would also happen to be in the sequence, but 10 would not be. Now, how much further on does this sequence go? You may think by its very nature that it couldn't possibly go on forever. As numbers get bigger, so too do their prime factors, and eventually it would seem likely that we won't be able to find consecutive pairs with such small prime factors. And that reasoning would indeed be correct. This sequence only has a few more terms. 15, 24, and then the last term of this sequence is 80. And we can actually say quite a bit more as well. In this case, we're considering consecutive pairs of what are called 5 smooth numbers. A 5 smooth number is a number whose prime factors are no greater than 5. So for this sequence, since we were requiring this of n and n plus 1, we were looking for consecutive pairs of 5 smooth numbers, and we would include the first number of each pair in our sequence. And of course, just like we look at 5 smooth numbers, we could look at k smooth numbers for any positive integer that's at least 2. And we could consider this same type of sequence, but for k smooth numbers more generally. And indeed, the sequence of all positive integers n, so that n and n plus 1 are k smooth, is in fact always a finite sequence for all k. And this result is called Stormer's theorem, named after the Norwegian mathematician Carl Stormer, who actually gave a process for finding all of the pairs that are in these sequences in 1897. So he's not actually the one who proved it, but due to his work on the subject, this interesting result bears his name. Okay, what's missing? It could be 7, it could be 8, and it could indeed even be 9. Let me show you how. If you add all of the infinitely many positive integers, you get one of the most famous and beloved memes in the online math nerd community. But instead of just adding up all of these positive integers, let's add up their reciprocals. The reciprocal of 1 is just 1 over 1, or 1. The reciprocal of 2 is 1/2, that's 1 over 2. The reciprocal of 3 is 1/3, and so on. This here is a sum with infinitely many terms. Such a sum is called a series, and this is a very famous series called the harmonic series. To deal with infinitely many terms, we consider the related sequence of so-called partial sums. This is the sum of just the first term, which we might call h1. That's the first harmonic number. This is the sum of the first 2 terms, which we may call h2. That's the second harmonic number. And of course, this next thing is h3. It's the third harmonic number. It's the sum of the first 3 terms in the harmonic series. Now, it turns out that as we add more and more terms, these partial sums will get increasingly large, although they do so very slowly. However, that's not super important for our discussion here. What is important is for us to take a closer look at these partial sums. The first partial sum, again called the first harmonic number, is 1. The second harmonic number, well, let's actually do this addition here and see what we get. 1 is the same as 2 over 2, so 2 over 2 plus 1 over 2, this is 3 over 2. And then for h3, well, to add up all these terms, we need the least common multiple of the denominators, which happens to be 6. 1 contains 6/6, 1/2 contains 3/6, and 1/3 contains 2/6. Add this up, and we see that the third harmonic number is 11 over 6. The next harmonic number, h4, of course, would have a plus 1/4 at the end. And once you combine everything, it turns out this is equal to 25 over 12. 12, of course, is the least common multiple of all of the denominators in the sum. Indeed, so far, every harmonic number has a denominator that's equal to the least common multiple of the denominators of the terms that are in the partial sum. The third harmonic number has 3 terms in the sum, and the denominators are 1, 2, and 3. The least common multiple of 1, 2, and 3 is 6, the denominator of that third harmonic number. However, this doesn't have to be the case. It could be that once we add things up, the numerator and denominator have a common factor, and so maybe the fraction could be reduced. In fact, once we get to the 6th harmonic number, this actually happens. Just to not skip anything, the 5th harmonic number is 137 over 60, and 60 is the least common multiple of the relevant denominators. However, the 6th harmonic number, H6, is equal to 147 over 60. 60 is again the least common multiple. Notice how it hasn't gone up this time, because the new number in the sum, 1 over 6, already has 60 as a multiple of its denominator. So if we added everything up, we get 147 over 60, but both the numerator and denominator here have a factor of 3, and so this can be reduced to 49 over 20. Now, the denominator of the 6th harmonic number actually isn't equal to the least common multiple of the denominators of the terms in the sum. So then, for the sequence we want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, indeed, all we have to do is consider the sequence of positive integers n so that the denominator of the nth harmonic number is the least common multiple of the denominators in the sum. Notice how for hn we take the least common multiple of 1 all the way up through n, because of course those are the denominators involved in the sum of hn. Like we saw, this sequence certainly contains 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but the 6th harmonic number doesn't have this property, so the sequence doesn't contain 6. And in fact, the sequence will also skip over 7. The 7th harmonic number is 363 over 140, but the relevant least common multiple here is actually 420. Similarly, the sequence is going to skip over 8, because the 8th harmonic number is 761 over 280, but the relevant least common multiple here is 840. It's not until the next harmonic number, h9, where we finally get this property again. The 9th harmonic number, h9, is 7,129 divided by 2,520. And indeed, 2,520 is the least common multiple of the numbers 1 through 9, which are the denominators of the relevant fractions in the sum. The next few terms in this sequence, if you're curious, are 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 27. By definition of this sequence, we don't actually know if it's finite or infinite. It could be that eventually no more numbers have this property. But again, it's an open problem. So, what comes next? It seems like it could be 6, 7, 8, 9, or pretty much anything. But the correct answer is suggested by everything we haven't been talking about, namely the diagram and the phrasing. The question isn't what comes next, which immediately makes us think about sequences. The question is what is missing. So this isn't a sequence, but instead a common type of schematic that's missing one important piece. And indeed, this is a common shift pattern in 5-speed manual transmission vehicles. If you don't know what that is, it's just like the type of car you drive, but with a lot more stick fiddling. And as you can see on the stick, indeed, what's missing is R, to put the car into reverse. Is it anticlimactic that it's not a number? I don't know, maybe. Anyways, I'm sure people took this video in good humor as they always do. Let's check out some of the comments and replies. It can be 6, you stupid ass motherfucker. I hate these people. It cannot, cause that would mean the car has no R. Who the said it was a car? The man who invented the so-called riddle, you dumb I'm unstable, villain art to keep the cable cut and unsort the table. If Texas Instruments don't reply, I think this time it might be fatal. Wish to sell my own fake cause I'm jaded. Hate the odds that I calculated. Press and pull and pray and push it all the way through the whole blue planet faded. Psychosomatic habits, why you so